Lukather is with us today here in your Uncle Joe's garage.
Hey, well,
You've worked with so many artists, you've been around so many, and I know you've occasionally gotten nervous around like people like Clapton can be a little unnerving.
Well, that was the only session I ever actually really got kind of nervous on, I kind of talked my way onto that session because I really wanted to play with it. It was one of the few, and you just get on a session like that, and I was a little flustered for a minute there. I didn't want to, since I talked my way onto the session, he said, yeah, okay, you can go, play. There wasn't a lot for me to play because everything else was kind of covered. But I was just, he was very gracious and kind to have me there, and we played a little bit, and I haven't really seen him much since.
One of the great guitarists, David Gilmour.
I love David Gilmour.
His technique is...
I just love everything about him. He's a great guy, first off, but he's a musical hero. All the Floyd guys. I got to work on Roger's record, which was funny because at the time they were feuding, so I didn't mention Dave in front of Roger, and they didn't. I for some reason I find myself in a situation where I can get along with both sides, but I don't say anything to anybody else.
Not saying anything has to be the hard
thing. Sometimes, my personality is one that I don't really edit too much about what I say, but occasionally, occasionally I wise up and go, I should probably not say anything right now, it's probably better.
Growing up here in Southern California, did you ever see Hendrix, or was that just before your time?
I was not allowed to go see Mr. Hendrix. I wanted to very badly. I was 11 years old, and Jimmy was playing Hollywood Bowl. And my parents were like, they see the cover of the record, and they hear the music, and they're going, nah, I don't think so. You lit buds to Jimmy, it's like...
He was a big influence, though.
Massive, still. Come on, that's the thing about us guys, okay, When I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, it changed my life, okay?
Yeah, same here.
So you go from that moment to everything that followed it to present day in real time. People use the term, oh, that's retro. Well, to me, that's just, oh, you mean it sounds like something that's already been done before, but not as good. Well, come on. What does that really mean? It reminds you, oh, these guys sound, they're retro. They sound like so-and-so. And you go, but it's not so-and-so. We all have our influences, and we throw them in a blender, and after all these years of taking all that music in, it's all in there. But back then, every artist, every band sounded radically different. And everybody was trying to outdo each other, so it was a really healthy competition to be different. Whereas something's been lost in that area. There's a lot of generic sounding stuff. I don't know if everybody's got the same plugins or everybody's got the same this or that. Maybe I'm just an old guy. I'm not bitter at all. I'm just working as much as I've ever done more, so I'm not mad at anybody. For me, so the rule book, that there seems to be some more of a rule book to making music, and we tried to throw that out a little bit and still make accessible melodic music without being too formula.
That's actually a good way to put it too. I was going to mention Jimmy Page.
I love Jimmy Page. He was a session guy too.
Yes, he was.
He grabbed me aside once. The first time I ever met him was kind of shocking, and said, I read somewhere that you said that you wish you weren't a session guy, you'd be taken seriously, or more serious. And I went, you read that? And I go, first off, it was taken a little out of context. But he goes, but I was a session guy. And there was this guitar event at Guitar Center. And I'd gone there with Eddie Manning and a bunch of other guys.
I was at that, yeah.
And it was at a Marshall thing, and it was a private event. And he grabbed me and he says, those guys in there don't know what the session guy thing is. And he's all, you should be proud of that. I go, hey, Jimmy Page does. I give him a big hug and I go, can I tell people you said that to me? He laughed. He goes, yeah. He was a very gracious, nice, but a big influence in my life.
Big influence.
Very nice to me.
And the music and the the way he recorded it.
Yeah,
not only just the guitar playing.
As a producer, a writer, a arranger, the sounds of those records, Zeppelin, life-changing music.
Let me mention the name George Harrison as well.
My first guitar hero.
Did you ever have a chance to?
Yeah, I actually met, this is the weirdest introduction ever. I had worked with Paul on the Thriller record, and we worked together in London and done some movie and all this other stuff together. And then I lost touch with him.
He's kind of he's a pretty good musician.
Yeah, oh God, he's awesome. It was such a great honor to be around him. And Linda was wonderful. We had a great time with all that, me and Jeff and Carl. And then I met George after Jeff had passed. I just happened to be at this weird club in La Cienega. And I heard George Harrison was there. I'm like, George Harrison's nightclub? Turns out he was there. And I said, look, he was in this private area. I go, I just got to say hi to George Harrison. He's my first guitar hero. Because the solo and I saw her standing there was the reason why I said that I want to do that.
Yeah,
Whatever's making that noise right there is what I want to do. And I'd seen him. I was just enamored with the whole sound of the lead guitar at that particular time in 1964. That solo I played it over and over until my parents begged me to stop. I just kept playing that over and over again. I just wanted to know who made that, how do I make that sound myself? And I was able to tell them that. So they let me in, and I tell them about it, and I said, well, we just lost our brother Jeff from doing a show at the Universal Amphitheater in 2 nights, man. I go, you should come over and hang with us. Come on, play it. The last song we did is a little help for my friends. And, I'd had a couple of cocktails, so I was doing the bravado. It was like I was fearless. I mean, he says, yeah, he'll come by, and I gave him my number. And I think, this guy's never going to show up. We're there. It was already a star-studded event. We got Donald Fagen to come out of retirement, come to LA and do something with his boss was there. Mm-hmm. So many great people were there that night. All of our friends and people that Mike McDonald, David Crosby, James Howard, Don Henley, Eddie Van Halen. I mean, it was a star-studded event.
Absolutely.
Magical night. And then we're in the dressing room. And I forgot. I was just telling everybody I got to meet George, one of my all-time. And he was so nice, and we spent time laughing and hanging out. I gave him my number, and he actually showed up backstage. He came backstage, and we're like, okay, do you want to come out and play? And he said, yeah, I'll come out and play. And we were doing like the Joe Cocker version of Little Help. So he's going like, we're backstage in the room, there's a piano, a couple guitars, and he's going through. Oh, we didn't play it that way on the record, He's just like, we're doing the Cocker version. But he was so cool. He grabbed my old Les Paul. I have a picture in my house, and he signed a little thing. We became friends. He'd call me, come hang out. It was just great. And then I got to meet Ringo, who's become a dear friend of mine. So my whole Beatles connect. I got to do the 50th anniversary TV show last year, which was a huge honor and a great thrill for me to get asked to do that. Me and Peter Frampton on guitar. It was an all-star band that Don was put together, and Ringo and Paul and all these great artists paying tribute to the Beatles, and I'm standing there. It really kind of hit me hard. As right before we went on stage, I'm looking at Paul and Ringo. We had this great rehearsal days, and I brought my son Trev, and my oldest son Trev was being hanging out. It was great photos. It was all together. But I'm sitting there, it really hit me, and I see right before we go on stage to do this thing, they're showing clips of Hard Day's Night. Now I'm going, where I'm standing here, about ready to do this with these guys, and that is what started it all. And it was very, I went, wow, man, I actually pulled this off. This little child, it was very emotional. I kept it to myself. I didn't really say anything to anybody about it. I never said much to Ring except that I'm really honored. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this. Because we did the Grammys right before, and it's like, just to have literally 50 years later, from the moment that I saw that and played guitar, and just 50 years later they're celebrating it. Peter told me when I was a kid. So that's a high point in my life, and you're realizing that the hard work actually, and hard work and luck right off.
And you're doing quite well. The new album is Toto 14.
We're very proud of that, actually. We worked very hard.
The first song, Running Out of Time, I just love that.
Thanks.
And the riff at the beginning that. I don't imagine you were playing through a 3-watt amplifier at that point.
No, it was actually a Wagner 4x12, actually. Pretty loud. But really in the studio, there's a myth that it's supposed to be loud and big in the studio. You understand that the Who's Next was made on a little champ amp. It was like the size of that amp.
Yep.
Brian May's Queen records were made on a homemade little amplifier. So, if you record it right, it's not really sound pressure level. You can make it sound big by layering it. And it's really the person playing that makes
the magic behind it.
That makes the big noise.
Your 35th anniversary tour, is that what we're calling it, that you're on for the
Well, no, that was like
16
3 years ago now.
Okay, you're 38.
38, man. It's terrifying. I just met a guy in the hallway at my 40th high school reunion, which I missed. But I'm in a band with the guys I go to high school with, so all of my friends in high school are still my friends. So I'd probably only want to go back and see the girls that wouldn't have sex with me then that might have sex with me now, but it really doesn't matter. Probably none of that would have happened anyway.
Paul Simon wrote a song about that one, but